Right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Okay. You're seeing a lot of people roll in. Let's do some introductions. So first off, my name's Phil Stern. I'm the partner program manager here at NUSO. So glad that everybody's here. We have an incredible topic to talk about, an important topic, in my opinion, just an incredible tool that we offer here at NUSO. But with me, we've got a fantastic man. Patrick, introduce yourself. What do you do here?
Hey, everybody. Patrick Foster. I'm the VP of Channel Solutions here at NUSO, and I'm really excited about this webinar and get to talk to folks about the branded calling ID solution that we have. We've been on the forefront of this innovative solution that's going to really help people protect their brand and push their brand out to their customers. So looking forward to this.
Absolutely. Patrick, so glad you're here. Chad, how we doing? What do you do here at NUSO?
Yeah, Phil, good to be here with you. And I'm Chad Ryder. I'm a product manager here at NUSO. I've been working on the BCID product and the relationships for quite some time. So happy to share it with everybody today.
Right. Chad officially wears the smartest man in the room hat for this call. I'm giving it to him right now. And you guys are going to find out why soon, because he is doing the majority of the talking. And Chad, let's kick this off.
Yeah. So, okay. So caller ID, the slide says trust is broken. So what has happened with caller ID, over time is that obviously all of us are, carrying around our cell phones every day. And those phones are all getting hit with spam calls, unknown calls, just phone numbers coming through. None of us can tell who's calling us anymore. And a little bit of the backstory on that is that the old version of caller ID that we all used to rely on is something that we call CNAM. And just the rules and parameters around CNAM is that when you make a phone call, you really could pass anything you wanted as far as caller ID in CNAM. So when that SIP messaging goes through, there's a specific field in there where you can actually put anything in that field, and nobody's checking it as far as verifying whether that is really the person calling. There's really no trust system built behind it. And when it shows up on the other side to the receiving carrier, there's no trust around whether or not what you wrote is actually going to get used. Because what a lot of carriers were doing is they would capture that CNAM the first time. Maybe they would dip for it and get who it is that's calling, and then they wouldn't use what's being passed in the SIP header. Instead, they would use whatever they cached for the last 30 days on that phone number. And so there's no trust that what you're passing is getting used, and there's no trust on what you're passing is actually correct, verified information. So there have been some different rules that have gone through the FCC lately, saying basically kind of releasing carriers from even being required to use CNAM. And so you're seeing at least the big three on the mobile side just move away from using it at all, period. And so that's where a lot of us are getting unknown callers, just phone numbers showing up, no information showing up. And so that's really just created this issue that it's not really it's not a problem with your device. It's not even a problem with your carrier. It's just a trust issue all the way around. So anything you want to add there, Patrick?
Yeah. I mean, I would just mention that, part of the problem that we see is that because that trust is broken and individuals are able to go and not knowing who called them, go report that phone number as spam. All of those spam databases pick that up. And so, you as a business, when you're making phone call, your number may be inaccurately reported as spam. And so there's a little bit of the CNAM issue and a little bit of everybody, happy to hit that spam button. That's kind of really impacted negatively our ability to connect with folks over the phone.
That's a good point. And I think that some of this branded calling ID showed up because we had this big problem of everyone getting labeled spam likely, and then all of our friends out there trying to go figure out how to clean up their numbers, and they'd spend all this effort. Some of them would spend all this money to clean up this spam or spam likely problem, just to turn around and see themselves get labeled again. And so this is an effort to do something completely different that gets us around that issue altogether. So you want to advance, Phil? Yeah. So with that, then, who's to blame? Is the customer to blame? No. Is the phone system to blame? No. And so whoever solves this problem is going to become stickier in the ecosystem with their customers. Customers are going to feel better and get more business if they find a solution that solves this problem for customer caller ID. We've seen already just reports and data come out about the increased revenue businesses get if their phone calls are answered. The likelihood that people are to answer a call, it's just a correct name and a logo were to show up. And I think the statistic is upwards 75 to 80% of people would actually answer the call if that correct information was shown. Patrick, I don't know kind of what your experience has been there.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's not just about the uptick in answered calls, right? It's the fact that you typically see fewer calls connected, right, without any sort of branding. And so, when people don't know that you're calling, you're seeing, somewhere in the 25% fewer calls that are actually received. And so then you see an uptick, of around 75 to 80%. And, that can equal real dollars, for anyone within a sales organization. But, even those folks that are delivering services and providing services to folks, you want to be able to connect and take care of the folks that you're getting in touch with. And so it's really making that connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, can you advance one more there, please, Phil? And as far as why MSPs and customers got burned before, so you had the CNAM issue where just anybody could pass whatever they wanted, or people were caching CNAM. So even if you pass something, then it wasn't getting used anyways because people were relying on old cached information. Then we have people who are other ecosystems that are out there that are they're creating branding packages for you to pass over RCD. So they're creating, you're passing a business name, you're passing a logo, but really they're just creating these branding packages. They're publishing them out there. So, and telling the end carrier where they can go pick up the branding package. They're not actually sending it with the call. They're just sending a location of, hey, here's where you can go to pick it up. And there's no guarantee that the receiving carrier will do that they'll go pick up your branding package, that they'll actually use your branding package and show your logo and your caller ID on the other side. And then you have these ecosystems where both parties had to be signed up participating in the ecosystem. So I have to be signed up and be participating in it when I send my call, and whoever I'm calling on the other end has to be signed up saying, I want to receive branding packages from anybody who's in that ecosystem. That just doesn't really work because there's just no guarantee that you're going to go get the whole marketplace out there to sign up and say that they want to receive individually caller ID from that specific ecosystem. So what has been born out of that is really, how do we establish trust? How do we create an ecosystem where we can just send our branding package, we'll send it with the phone call, and we know that the carrier on the other side will take it and publish it because we have relationship, because they can trust how do we build a trust system where they can trust what we're sending them and we can trust that they're publishing it. So one thing to note on here, you see that bottom bullet point says many offer free trials. If it's a free trial, it's not real branded calling ID. So that's because in this trust relationship on our side, when we're saying that we are who we say we are, we have to go through some sort of third-party vetting system where somebody checks us out and says, we are who we say we are in the branding package. And so we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the slide deck. But if someone's offering a free trial, then there is no vetting that's happening there. They're just putting a branding package together for you. That's not the real BCID a system that was built on trust, that everyone's hopping on board with, that the carriers are putting relationship and terms around. This BCID ecosystem and relationship is a real thing that's forming. And so anyone offering a free trial is doing it outside on the peripherals of that and not actually using the ecosystem that's in place. So yeah. Okay. Sorry, you've advanced the screen. We'll hop forward here. So from unknown caller ID and trusted brand. Okay, so what is included in BCID is we're going to show a business name, a logo. If it's on an Android, it shows a call reason. And this displays directly to the handset on T-Mobile and Verizon phone calls at the moment. So those are the two big carriers that have jumped on board and said, we are fully part of this ecosystem. So as we send it out, those mobile devices are showing logo, call name, and call reason. There's no app that's required in order to receive that. There's no opt-in that the customer has to do. It is just natively showing up on those phone calls because it's being sent with the phone call. And as they're receiving it, they're just publishing what they're receiving because the terms, the agreements are in place to do that. And so, yeah, Patrick, anything there that you?
Yeah, I want to kind of touch. Yeah, I appreciate it. I just want to touch on the Verizon and T-Mobile phones. Those networks today, right? So we're working. The CTIA, the organization here, is working with AT&T to bring them on board as well. They just haven't gotten there yet. They've got to do some infrastructure things in order to get to that place. And T-Mobile and Verizon were really the first ones to adopt it. But that actually covers close to 70% of the folks that you're probably calling. So, interestingly, we talk about those guys as the big three, and they really do all have about a third of the market share when it comes to consumer phones. So you're getting coverage to about 70% today, and here soon we'll get to 100%.
Yeah, great. So the question is, who is CTIA? So CTIA represents every major U.S. wireless carrier. They are basically like an industry oversight body, and they work directly with the FCC. So everybody who like NUSO, who's a carrier, or they represent MSPs. They represent anybody who touches this wireless carrier space, and they take feedback. They take different suggestions, and then they feed those into the FCC in an organized manner. They've really coordinated a bunch of industry standards. They've coordinated different customers and vendors. So everybody in this ecosystem who is either an onboarding agent, a vetting agent, who is an originating service provider like NUSO, and then even the terminating service providers like T-Mobile and Verizon. CTIA has gone and established contractual relationships with each one of them, which is what this system of trust is built on top of. And then they have gone out and they've also secured relationships with the technology vendors that it takes to deliver secure branding packages all the way from one side of the call to the other side. So they're just kind of the foundational body that this solution is built upon. So who else is in the ecosystem? So that would be, you have an onboarding agent on, Phil, if you don't mind advancing one more. The onboarding agent would be on the very one side of the business with the customer. And so the customer onboards, meaning what they do is they declare who they are, what business they represent, who owns the business, the contact information for the business. And then they say, these are the phone numbers we want branded. And here's the logo we want to show up and the call reason if it's applicable. And then a third party vetting agent comes in and they run all of that information. They make sure that you're the business you say you are, the people who own it that you declared are the owners. They make sure there's no fraudulent background that you have. They make sure that the phone numbers are actually owned by you that you're wanting to brand. So all of that is the very important piece of trust that this is built on. So that vetting agent has a really high responsibility to make sure that they're putting their stamp of approval on businesses that are legit businesses, which is great for you because then the terminating service provider, the T-Mobiles, the Verizons at the very end, as long as we can keep that traffic clean and we can keep the fraud calls out of there because we're stamping real businesses, then this just becomes more and more of a potent and strong product. So once that they put their sign of approval on it, it comes to someone like NUSO, and we have a very specific certificate that every time you make a phone call on one of those numbers, we apply that certificate to the phone call. We're sending that certificate through. It's our certificate of trust. It also contains your branding package, and we deliver that call onto the terminating service provider, who then picks it up on their side. They verify that that's a legitimate certificate, and they publish your branding package with the call as it rings through to the end device. So it all sounds very technical, and there's definitely moving parts underneath on the back end of your phone call. But it establishes higher trust. It definitely establishes higher answering rates, which just for everybody else on the call here means higher revenue to you because your phone calls are getting through, they're getting picked up by your customers, and business is being done. So, Patrick?
Yeah, it's just like we said, it's ensuring that those connections that you're trying to make are able to be completed, and you're able to make those connections to those folks, right? And there's a lot of players, as a lot of people in this ecosystem, and as Chad pointed out, and the great thing about working with NUSO is that we not only have relationships with the CTIA, but we have relationships with each one of those players, and sometimes in multiple different ways. Because of our status as a business phone provider and also a voice carrier provider. And so, we own that process from end to end. And our team is going to work to ensure that things are set up. They'll work with you at the very beginning to ensure that we've captured all of the information that you need in order to be verified, and then work with the verification company in order to smooth that process for you. And then at the end of the day, right, we're going to sign that call, deliver that package, that logo package, or branding calling package through for you and your customers. The folks that you're trying to get in touch with are going to know and trust that it's you that are calling. They're going to increase the likelihood of them answering the call.
Thank you, Patrick. So we'll kick it back over to you.
Yeah, I got to add something before we get to the Q&A. First off, I think it was maybe a year and a half ago, Chad, that we did our first webinar on branded calling ID. And at the time, T-Mobile was the only carrier on board. So roughly 35% of all traffic we were pushing through. And at the time, great product. It was doing everything it was supposed to do. It keeps evolving and changing for the better. We've seen Verizon jump on board. And I remember you telling us on that first call, yep, Verizon's going to jump on board. AT&T's going to be there. They've all said they're pushing. We're seeing it all happen in real time. This product just keeps growing in value. And this is the first time you've heard of it. It's not something brand new. has been around for, what is it, like a year and a half, 2 years now, Chad, something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. So it's just so cool to see it evolve, and it just really is what it is. It's doing what it says it's doing. And that is value. That is higher trust, higher answer rates. I just had my dealer call me a couple weeks ago, and it had the logo of the dealer. It said it was from the service department. They had to tell me that there's an $800 repair they had to do on my car. That wasn't the good part, but everything else was great to see. And so that's value. If that wouldn't have been there, I probably wouldn't have picked up. So I had to just throw that in there. And it looks like we do have a question right off the bat. First off, Chad, does this only work on cell phones, or are people going to see this information on their desk phone? How does that work?
Yeah. So right now, like you said, the last time we did one of these, it was just T-Mobile. This time we're talking about T-Mobile and Verizon, 70+% of the wireless handsets. As this thing grows, you're going to start seeing it more proliferated everywhere. But as it is today, those are the two terminating service providers that this is terminating to. You will start to see, business terminating service providers picking this up as well to display business names on business phones sitting on the desk. I do think that as this evolves and goes down the road, you will start seeing probably hardware adapt to being able to show logos as it sits on the desk. I think that just from different conversations I hear happening in the ecosystem, different people working on different solutions, I think that you'll even see some of the collaboration providers start picking up. I'm talking about, the Teams and the Zooms of the world start picking up on this as well, because they terminate so many phone calls. And so this will gain speed. It will gain traction and marketplace awareness and be adopted. This will be the winning solution going forward. When we look back and we say, who solved the problem on caller ID, I definitely very strongly think it's going to be BCID will win that game. They've got too many relationships in the FCC and high places that they're pushing forward, and they're adopting new structure and things all the time that just make them the best fit.
Oh, that's great. Another question, and I know I've answered this question many, many times. Everybody wants to know, when is AT&T jumping on? Do we have an exact date? What are they saying? I know that AT&T is like one of the biggest. They're just stacks and stacks of infrastructure changes as a company.
Yeah, no one can speak for AT&T, but I can say that we have heard that AT&T, CTIA, there's thin conversations going on. It's not happening. It's just these things take time.
Right. Yeah. Well, and especially with a company the size of AT&T, and if you know the history of that company, crazy. So yeah, it is coming. And again, we said just a year ago, Verizon's coming. They've said they're going to come just like AT&T, and they're here. So this is happening. I wish we had a better date, but we're not AT&T. I like how you said that. Only AT&T can answer.
Hey, I see another question here in the chat about, asking how has this been received by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And I'm not going to use Chad's words exactly, but similarly, I don't know that I've seen anything. Chad, have you seen anything, any sort of response or statement by the CFPB specifically about BCID? I don't recall, but we'll look into it and get back to you with what we find. And then I also see a question, a couple of questions about inclusion in current services and cost. Please reach out to your NUSO partner or to your NUSO channel account manager. We'll also have them reach out to you to discuss the cost. There is a cost for the profile itself, and then packages for the number of calls that are delivered. One thing to kind of point out there is that it only works on a couple of carriers today, and it only works on specific phone models. Most of the phone models that are out there. But you only are charged for, or included in the buckets that we can talk to you about, for those calls that are delivered. So when it's actually delivered, it doesn't count if you're calling into a landline or if you're calling somebody on AT&T today. It doesn't count against your bucket. Then again, your channel account manager or your NUSO partner could probably explain that better than me.
Yeah, I want to
Yes.
hit a couple other questions on here before we run out of time. Sorry, just to jump in. So,
Yeah, go.
somebody asked a good one. If I intentionally mask my caller ID, how does that affect BCID? So sorry, I guess when I read that first, I thought you were asking. I thought intentionally was internationally. But so if you intentionally mask your caller ID, then it's not going. I don't think it'll trigger, because it is looking for that outbound phone number that's being called from. BCID does trigger off of that. So if you try to call out privately without sending your correct phone number, then it's not going to trigger. But the other thing I wanted to say there, just to go a layer deeper for everybody who understands stir shaken, you have to be in a situation where your calls are being signed as an A. So if your calls receive an attestation A, and that just means that your carrier has to personally know you as an end customer. If you're several layers removed from your carrier, then that's just it's not going to work. So in our space here as NUSO, that means you have to be using NUSO phone numbers in order for BCID to work properly. We're not going to sign BCID on phone numbers that don't belong to NUSO. So hope that helps with that understanding there. There was also a question about Mint Mobile. So Mint Mobile is like they actually use the T-Mobile network. And those relationships are contractual between Mint Mobile and T-Mobile on whether or not Mint is actually going to display BCID. So we have no control over that. That's something between Mint and T-Mobile themselves. Patrick, do you want to talk about next steps to get started?
Yeah, the next steps, like I said, is get in touch with that partner, get in touch with your NUSO channel account manager, and they can explain more, can answer some of the questions that are coming in, pay attention to time. What we'll do is we've got all these questions, and we will have someone from the NUSO team reach out to you for any of the questions that we weren't able to answer on the phone. But yeah, absolutely. Just kind of expand on what you said. Some of those, they're called MVNOs, right? Some of those mobile carriers that have relationships with Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile, right? It's specific within their relationship, but in most cases, that they're either passing it today or T-Mobile's work on, Verizon's work with them to pass it. So appreciate everybody's time. Chad, thank you very much, and turn things back over to Phil.
Yeah, no, this has been great. Thank you, Chad and Patrick. And the questions we have been incredible. Just before we wrap up, we do have a webinar coming up next week. We're talking about the brand new Yealink phones. This is super exciting. We've got an actual Yealink rep who's going to be walking us through the technology, why these phones are so cool and amazing. So if you're in the market, you're looking for an upgrade, maybe you had no idea new Yealink models were coming out, register for this. We've sent out some invites. If you don't have an invite, you need the link, let us know. You can reach out to your account manager. You can reach out to marketing. It's marketing@uso.cloud. We'll send you a registration link. And then I think that's it though. We're right at time. Again, thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Chad. We will be sending this webinar out in post as well as a YouTube video. So if you want somebody else to see this in the office or whatever, it's coming. You'll see it in about a week or so. With that, thank you all. We're going to end today, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week. Bye, y'all.